US Homeland Security is demanding more security on all international flights into the United States, but following intense lobbying from the EU, a ban on laptops in airplane cabins on flights from 10 countries will not be extended. Instead, Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly says the US will require enhanced screening for the roughly 2,000 commercial flights arriving daily in the United States from 280 airports on 180 airlines in 105 countries.
These measures will be both seen and unseen, and they will be phased in over time. They will include enhanced screening of electronic devices, more thorough passenger vetting, and new measures designed to mitigate the potential threat of insider attacks. We will also lay out a clear path to encourage airlines and airports to adopt more sophisticated screening approaches, including better use of explosive detection canines and advanced checkpoint screening technology. Additionally, we will encourage more airports to become pre-clearance locations. This is not only enhances security, it also increases convenience by allowing international travelers to go through customs and border security screening before boarding flights to the United States.
Eoghan Corry, editor of Travel Extras here. Eoghan, thanks for coming in again. We'll talk about the enhanced screening measures in a minute, but let's talk about laptops first, because it looked like they were going to be banned on all flights from here to the US. Now they won't.
John Kelly's problem here is he did a bit of grandstanding on this, banning laptops. They already did it from 10 airports, mainly in the Middle East, North Africa. What seems to have happened is that has gone away, and he now has to say, what are we going to do instead? So what we've seen in recent days is talking about greater security. Anyone who's been through an airport will say, how can security be more intense than it is now? And what is worrying for airlines in particular is they've been given a series of measures. They aren't quite clear what they are yet, but 21 days to implement them, and then another series, 120 days. So that really, the airlines are looking at this saying, what's this going to cost us? What are we going to be required to do? And who's going to be vetting this? Because it could be quite arbitrary. The real issue from Homeland Security's point of view is, having made such a song and a dance about the laptop ban, they lost the argument with Europe, with Violetta Bulge, the Transport Commissioner, who made a very, very strong case against it. And then a couple of things happened which, made even the Americans sit back and rethink it. One was the diversion of a flight which was going from New York to San Francisco on May the 31st, which ended up in Grand Rapids in Michigan, because when of the laptops in the hold had gone on fire. So there is an issue of batteries in the hold, all of these things. But John Kelly, having made the big grandstand, is now trying to say, he's left with the dilemma, what do I do to substitute for this laptop ban?
So if I'm flying into or out of the US in the months to come, what can I expect that I'm not receiving now?
Well, what they're talking about is greater security. They're talking about three things. They're talking about more swab tests. The swab test rate, they're random. When you put your laptop through, a certain number of them will be selected for swab tests, which is a more intense screening. And you can notice in airports, even as I'm travelling in recent weeks, in Manchester, places like that, the number of laptops which are being taken aside for that is increasing. That is adding time onto your getting through security. And the way Europe and the regulator in Ireland monitor security queues, it's really from the time you start the security queue till you actually reach screening. If more and more people are being taken out for second screening, that won't even be monitored at all. So that's a big concern. Will it cost more in time? The second thing the Americans are talking about is vetting of staff. That's a big problem in America, because staff in American airports are very badly paid. They have a very high turnover, less so in Europe. The third thing they're talking about is more dogs, trained for explosives. So if anyone has an old mush around the country that they think can be retrained, it's a good time to be an explosives dog. But they're the three things. They're I don't know how real or how effectual they are, and the airlines are all, as airlines do, are looking at the bottom line, the cost, and whether this will have to be passed on to passengers. And there are also implications if there are more pre-clearance. That is really good news for Ireland, because up till about 6 weeks ago, the big question was, would pre-clearance be scaled down, and would we lose that tremendous facility we have in Dublin and in Shannon? Remember, Gavin, that we are one of the most dependent airports on America. Dublin's entire long-haul traffic virtually is to America.
He's talking about extending pre-clearance to other airports. Does that affect us?
Yeah, it could affect us in that that competitive advantage that Dublin has will now be, you know, people are already looking at that. Edinburgh, Manchester, Copenhagen, places like that are looking at it. It's not the only card we have to play. Geographical location is a big deal for us, but you know, in the way we are the fifth the fifth biggest airport in terms of people travelling across the Atlantic. So anything that impacts on transatlantic traffic, and we've seen already even the suggestion of the laptop ban has reduced the number of flights on airlines such as Emirates. Anything that the Americans do that affects the level of transatlantic traffic will have a disproportionate effect on Dublin, impact in Dublin.
Why are they doing all this?
The news, the whisperings were that they had the unattributed security sources had found that people were working on a way of getting a bomb into as part of a laptop and smuggling it on board. And then, you know, the big question arose, where is it, is putting it in the hold any safer than banning people carrying it on board? And that's what led to the very unexpected measure that the traffic from 10 airports were stopped by, and then the British followed. What's really interesting is that while the US introduced measures to ban laptops in the hold, and then UK followed, the rest of the world didn't. And that, I think, suggests how divided even the security industry is on this issue. The big news this morning is the laptop ban isn't coming in soon, and the other measures, they will be a little bit irritating, but it does mean that the big problem is sort of receded.
Eoghan, thank you. That's Eoghan Corry, editor of Travel Excellence.